All right, let's just jump right in. This whole debate about when we're going to hit AGI, artificial general intelligence, it's not just some academic argument for a classroom. We're talking about a seriously high-stakes conflict that's shaping where billions of dollars are flowing and, honestly, the entire future of tech.
And framing it as a philosophical civil war isn't an exaggeration. I mean, on one side, you've got this belief that we are right on the verge of a breakthrough that will change everything. And on the other, a much more cautious warning that we're all just getting a little lost in the hype. And this one disagreement, it dictates everything, from how businesses plan their next move to how nations think about security.
And right at the center of this war, you've got two titans. First, there's Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia. You can think of him as the ultimate scale optimist. His whole philosophy is that more computing power is the key that unlocks the future. And then you have Andrew Ng, one of the founders of the entire deep learning movement. He's the engineering realist, urging everyone to take a step back and focus on what's actually practical today.
So, to really get what's going on here, we have to define the battleground itself. Their disagreement isn't just about picking a date on a calendar. It's about the very definition of what AGI is and how we'll even know when we've finally gotten there.
This table really breaks it all down, right? It gets to the very core of it. Over here, you've got Jensen Huang, who's basically flooring it. He's on this accelerationist path, saying AGI is just 0 to 5 years away. And his definition is functional. If an AI can pass a medical board exam or the bar, that's it, we're there. But then Andrew Ng, he's pumping the brakes. He's way more pragmatic, arguing that true AGI is decades away, and it has to match the full range of human smarts. It's a massive difference in both the timeline and the underlying philosophy.
And you know what? This entire debate, all of it, really boils down to one single crucial technical idea, the concept of a world model. This is the bottleneck.
So what is a world model? Well, think of it like an AI's own mental simulator. It's an internal understanding of how the world works, of physics, cause and effect, the basic rules of reality. It's a thing that would allow an AI to actually plan and predict, to think before it acts, instead of just, guessing the next word in a sentence.
Now, Jensen Huang is basically betting that this world model will just emerge. His philosophy is that if we keep making these large language models bigger and bigger, and we feed them not just text but also video and audio, then a really sophisticated world model will just implicitly wake up inside the system. He'll point to things like OpenAI's Sora model as proof. It seems to have some basic grasp of physics. So his conclusion is pretty simple. We just need more GPUs.
Andrew Ng argues the complete opposite. He says, look, you can't get to AGI just by making the models we have today bigger. LLMs are incredible pattern predictors, for sure, but they aren't causal thinkers. They're missing what he calls embodied grounding, that common sense we get from actually living and interacting with the physical world. He warns that we're stuck in a training bubble, pouring billions into this unproven idea that just scaling up is enough. His conclusion? We need a fundamentally new kind of AI architecture.
Okay, so what does all this mean for you right now? This isn't just a fun debate for researchers. It has massive real-world implications for anyone leading a team or building a product today. Your entire strategy really depends on whether you're preparing for the world that Andrew Ng describes or the one that Jensen Huang's predicting.
And that really is the fundamental choice you have to make. Are you going to go down the engineer's path or the scaling optimist path? Because where you place your bet determines your architecture, your investments, and what you focus on building today.
If you follow Andrew Ng's path, you take what's called a workflow-first approach. You're not sitting around waiting for AGI to show up. Instead, you're building a smart, modular system. You integrate powerful tools like retrieval-augmented generation, or RAG, which helps ground the AI in specific facts. In this world, the big, fancy LLM is just one piece of a larger, more reliable machine.
The Huang path? It's completely different. It's all model first. The strategy here is pretty straightforward. Get your hands on as much computing power as you possibly can, build one single massive monolithic model, and then, well, you basically wait. You wait for this autonomous, almost godlike intelligence to emerge from all that scale. It's a huge bet on a sudden, world-changing leap.
And these two very different paths, they also lead you to worry about completely different kinds of risks. If you're on Ng's path, your focus is on enterprise safety. You're guarding against really practical here-and-now problems like bias, data leaks, and systems just failing predictably. But if you're on Huang's path, you're concerned with frontier risk, the huge, almost sci-fi questions about AI alignment and how we prevent a catastrophic loss of control over a superintelligence.
But the story doesn't just stop there. In fact, this is where things get really, really interesting. Because this whole debate is now being slammed by new, real-world problems that are forcing everyone towards a kind of hybrid reality.
So, a couple of new bottlenecks have popped up that are totally changing the game. First, this idea of AI sovereignty. Countries around the world are now building their own AI models on their own infrastructure because they want to protect their data and their strategic interests. And second, we've hit the energy wall. The race to AGI isn't just limited by smart algorithms or GPUs anymore, it's now being limited by something much more basic: access to electricity.
And this brings us to a really critical insight. And this is the part that makes everything just click into place: the incentive bias. Here's what's so fascinating. In a way, both leaders are right, because their perspectives just happen to align perfectly with their business models. Think about it. Jensen Huang sells the fuel for the AGI race, the GPUs, so of course he sees the finish line as being just around the corner. And Andrew Ng sells the blueprints for building practical AI systems today, so naturally he's going to emphasize all the engineering work that's still left to do. It doesn't mean they're being dishonest, not at all. It just means their vision is shaped by the very market they're creating.
So this brings us to what I think is the most important takeaway from all of this. Maybe the correct timeline doesn't really matter as much as your architectural posture. The real choice isn't when AGI will get here. The real choice is, what are you building in the meantime? Are you building a controllable, useful workflow engine, or are you swinging for the fences and trying to build a proto-AGI?
So, as we wrap up here, I just want to leave you with that question. The horizon for AGI, it's always moving. The scale optimists and the engineering realists, they're going to keep debating. But the future? Well, the future belongs to the people who don't just wait, but who actually build something. So the question is, what are you going to build?
It's definitely a question worth thinking about. If you found this explainer valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to KYC AI Labs for more deep dives into LLMs, Agentic AI, and the future of technology. Thanks so much for joining us.